Diplomatic foreign policy formulation is a multifaceted process that involves multiple institutions, departments, and agencies within a government. Each country has a set of institutions responsible for shaping, negotiating, and executing foreign policy, though the structure and responsibilities of these institutions may vary significantly depending on the country's political system, historical background, and strategic priorities. A comparative analysis of the institutions responsible for foreign policy formulation in 5 countries from different regions of the world provides insight into the varying processes and frameworks used in the development of diplomatic strategies. 1. North America. United States, key departments/agencies. 1. Department of State, DOS. The U.S. Department of State is the central institution responsible for the country's foreign policy. Led by the Secretary of State, it oversees diplomacy, international relations, and coordination with other government departments. The Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs, and others focus on regional diplomacy. National Security Council, NSC. The NSC, chaired by the President, is responsible for advising the President on national security and foreign policy. It coordinates the U.S. response to international crises and issues of national defense. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. The CIA provides critical intelligence that informs foreign policy decisions, including assessments of foreign governments, potential threats, and the geopolitical landscape. Process. The U.S. foreign policymaking process is a collaborative effort among these agencies, with the Department of State leading on diplomatic negotiations, the NSC advising on security implications, and the CIA providing intelligence. The President plays a central role in decision-making, with Congress playing a significant part in ratifying treaties and approving military actions. Canada, key departments/agencies. 1. Global Affairs Canada, GAC. The GAC is responsible for the development and execution of Canada's foreign policy. It merges the roles of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development and provides leadership on diplomacy, trade, and international development. Privy Council Office, PCO. The PCO assists in coordinating foreign policy and national security strategy, advising the Prime Minister on key decisions, and ensuring that foreign policy is in line with the government's overall objectives. Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS. CHIS offers intelligence on global security issues, terrorism, and potential threats, directly informing foreign policy decisions. Process. Foreign policy in Canada is highly centralized in the Prime Minister's Office and the Global Affairs Canada Department, with significant consultation from the Privy Council Office. The government also works closely with security agencies like CHIS and the Canadian Forces to ensure that security concerns align with diplomatic strategy. Mexico, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, SRE. The SRE is the main government body responsible for Mexico's foreign relations. It negotiates treaties, handles consular affairs, and represents Mexico in international organizations. National Security Council, CNS. The CNS, composed of senior government officials including the President, Secretaries of Foreign Relations and National Defense, and the Attorney General, advises on the security and strategic components of foreign policy. Embassies and consulates. These institutions, under the direction of the SRE, are responsible for conducting day-to-day diplomacy and maintaining bilateral relations with other countries. Process. In Mexico, foreign policy decisions are largely shaped by the President, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, SRE, managing diplomacy. The National Security Council has a role in advising on policies with national security implications, such as migration, drug trafficking, and border security. Embassies and consulates act as the first line of diplomatic communication, while the SRE coordinates broader strategy. 2. Europe. United Kingdom, key departments/agencies. 1. Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO. The FCDO is the central institution for the UK's foreign relations, managing diplomatic, consular, and international development matters. It is led by the Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Affairs. National Security Council, NSC. Similar to the US model, the UK's NSC is responsible for high-level discussions on national security and foreign policy. It is chaired by the Prime Minister and includes senior cabinet ministers and intelligence chiefs. Ministry of Defense, MOD. While primarily focused on defense, the MOD influences foreign policy, particularly in areas where military action or defense policy intersects with diplomatic strategy. Process: the FCDO is the lead department for diplomatic policy, but the Prime Minister's office and the NSC also play significant roles, especially in decisions involving national security or defense. Parliament has an important role in ratifying treaties and providing oversight, and specialized agencies like MI6, Foreign Intelligence, feed information into the policymaking process. France, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs, MEAE. The MEAE is the principal authority for France's foreign policy. The Minister for Foreign Affairs oversees international relations, with a focus on Europe, Africa, and global diplomacy. Élysée Palace, the office of the President of France, plays a significant role in foreign policy, often making high-level decisions and engaging in diplomacy directly. The President is a key figure in France's foreign strategy. French Intelligence Services, DGSE, the Directorate General for External Security, DGSE, provides intelligence that informs France's foreign and defense policies. Process: France's foreign policy is heavily influenced by the President, who has the constitutional right to determine foreign policy direction, especially in areas such as defense and national security. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs plays a central role in implementation, while intelligence services provide critical information to inform strategic decisions. Germany. Key departments/agencies. 1. Federal Foreign Office, Auswärtiges Amt, Germany's central foreign policy institution, responsible for managing Germany's diplomatic relations, representation in international organizations, and consular affairs. Chancellery, Bundeskanzleramt, the Chancellery supports the Chancellor in overseeing the overall government strategy, including foreign policy. The Chancellor plays a critical role in diplomatic decision-making, particularly on European and global matters. Federal Intelligence Service, BND, the BND provides intelligence on global developments that impact Germany's foreign policy, particularly on security and defense matters. Process: Germany's foreign policy is shaped by the Chancellor and the Foreign Minister, but it also involves close coordination between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Federal Chancellor's Office, and intelligence agencies like the BND. The Bundestag, Parliament, also has a significant role in approving certain foreign policy decisions, including military interventions. Italy, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, MISI. This ministry is responsible for formulating Italy's diplomatic policies, promoting its interests abroad, and managing consular services. Presidency of the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister and Cabinet hold significant influence over Italy's foreign policy, particularly in matters of national security and EU relations. Italian Intelligence Services, ES, IC. These agencies provide security assessments and intelligence to support Italy's foreign policy decisions. Process: the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the central institution in charge of diplomacy, but decisions involving EU policy and international cooperation are highly influenced by the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Intelligence agencies contribute by providing assessments that shape Italy's global positioning. 3. Asia. China, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA. The MFA is responsible for crafting China's foreign policy, managing diplomatic relations, and representing China in international organizations. Central Foreign Affairs Commission, CFAC. The CFAC is a high-level body that coordinates foreign policy at the Communist Party level. It plays a key role in advising the leadership on international issues. National Security Council, NSC. The NSC deals with strategic foreign policy decisions that have implications for national security, such as military deployments and responses to international crises. Process: in China, foreign policy is strongly centralized under the Communist Party leadership, with the MFA executing diplomatic operations, but the CFAC and the Politburo set the direction for major policy decisions. The President and Premier play central roles, particularly on issues like trade, security, and military strategy. India, key departments/agencies. Key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of External Affairs, MEA. The MEA is the key institution for managing India's foreign relations, diplomatic negotiations, and consular affairs. National Security Council, NSC. The NSC is responsible for coordinating defense, intelligence, and foreign policy decisions, particularly in relation to national security. Intelligence Bureau, IB, and Research and Analysis Wing, RAW. These agencies provide intelligence to support India's foreign policy decisions, particularly regarding security and counterterrorism. Process: India's foreign policy is largely shaped by the Ministry of External Affairs, though the National Security Council and the Prime Minister's office play significant roles, particularly in security matters and crises. India's democratic system requires coordination with Parliament on many foreign policy decisions. Japan, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA. MOFA is responsible for shaping Japan's foreign policy and managing diplomatic relations, particularly in Asia and with global powers. National Security Council, NSC. The NSC is involved in making decisions on national security and foreign policy, coordinating input from various agencies including the military and intelligence services. Intelligence gathering agencies, for example, Public Security Intelligence Agency. Japan's intelligence agencies provide necessary security assessments to shape foreign policy. Process: in Japan, foreign policy is led by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with substantial involvement from the National Security Council, especially on issues of security and defense. The Prime Minister has significant influence in foreign policy, particularly on strategic decisions regarding security. South Korea, key departments/agencies. 1. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA. MOFA manages diplomatic relations and international policy formulation. National Security Council, NSC. The NSC coordinates policy responses to security challenges, especially those related to North Korea and regional tensions in East Asia. Intelligence Agency, National Intelligence Service, NISH. The NISH provides intelligence on security matters that shape South Korea's foreign policy, particularly in relation to North Korea. Process: South Korea's foreign policy is largely coordinated through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, though the National Security Council plays a significant role in policy related to security and North Korean relations. The President and Cabinet make key foreign policy decisions. Conclusion: Foreign policymaking is a complex, multi-tiered process that involves multiple government agencies, departments, and institutions. In each country, diplomatic strategy is shaped by a combination of historical factors, the political system, and the specific geopolitical context in which they operate. While institutions such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the Department of State are central to the process, national security agencies, intelligence bodies, and the executive office of the President or Prime Minister often play crucial roles in shaping overall strategy. Each country has a unique approach to foreign policy decision-making, influenced by both domestic political realities and international imperatives.